Here are the first notes for Integrated 2 Chapter 6. We'll do a little bit of talking about rationalizing. And the rationalizing that you and I focus on specifically this year is rationalizing the denominator. Now, there will be times in the future where you will rationalize the numerator. That's not for us. That's in future math classes. So to rationalize the denominator, basically we rationalize the denominator when we have a fraction, and in that fraction, in the denominator, we have a square root. So whenever we see a square root that can't be simplified down, and by that I mean the root can't disappear, we go through the process of trying to clean this up a little bit. It's kind of like simplifying a fraction. So what we're going to do, so we've got the directions over here off to the side, but I'm going to go through and actually show you the work. So we're going to take this 6 over root 2, so I'll put that down here, and we are going to multiply the top and bottom by the thing we're trying to eliminate. So what's causing the problem here? And it really is that we have that square root of 2 in the bottom. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom of the fraction by the square root of 2, which is okay. If you take a look at this whole big square root of 2 over the square root of 2 is just 1. And you guys know that we can multiply by 1. It doesn't change the value of something. So it's just, I'm making the 1 look a very specific way. When we multiply fractions, we go straight across. So we're going to do the 6 times the square root of 2, which is going to give us 6 square root 2. And then on the bottom, we're going to get a square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Well, there's a couple different ways to write this. We can rewrite it as the square root of 4, since both the 2 and the 2 are inside the root, so we can actually multiply. But we know that the square root of 4 is just 2. And then we're going to go ahead and slide the 6 root 2 over. But this can be simplified a little bit further. Now, I already feel much better about this because there's no square root in the bottom of the fraction. Top of the fraction, totally okay. Bottom of the fraction, not so much. But we can simplify further. Notice that this 2 in the denominator does not have a square root around it anymore. So we're going to look in the numerator for any other number that isn't inside the square root. So we're going to take a look at the 6 here. And we're going to look and see if we can simplify 6 over 2, which we can. We know that 6 divided by 2 is going to give us 3. And then we're just going to carry the square root of 2 with us. Kind of like we did previously, we treated square roots kind of the same way we would treat a variable. So if this was 6x divided by 2, then we know 6x divided by 2 is still just 3x. Notice the variable still just goes along with you. And then if we inspect this new answer, 3 square root 2, notice there's no denominator anymore. And there's technically a 1 there, but it's not necessary to write it. If I take a look at this, I don't have the square root in the bottom of a fraction anymore, and the fraction itself has been simplified. This is the simplified answer of the original, which was 6 over the square root of 2. And we're just going to do a little bit of practice on this. And so taking a look at this next page, we're going to look and see if there's a square root in the denominator of the fraction. Well, there is. We have the square root of 2 in the denominator of the fraction, which means the problem is the square root of 2. So we're going to times top and bottom by the problem. So if we multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, which is fine because that's us multiplying by 1. I'm going to go straight across. We'll do 4 times the square root of 2. Just going to kind of push them together. I know that the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. Not done yet. Make sure you simplify that bottom part here. I know that the square root of 4 is really just 2. Slide the 4 square root 2 over and then do a quick check and see if there's anything on the bottom and on the top that could be simplified. So if we take a look, the bottom has the 2 in it, just a 2. No square root anymore. So we'll look on the top at the value that is not inside the square root and simplify that if we can. Well, we know 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then don't forget to bring the square root of 2 with you. Okay, I think that is our answer. All right, let's take a look at question number 2. So the issue is the square root of 3 in the bottom. We can't simplify the fraction right now as it is, since the 18 on the top is not inside a square root, but 3 is on the bottoms. Those can't be simplified together. So I am going to go rationalizing. So to rationalize this, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by the issue, and the issue is the square root of 3. We're going to multiply our fraction straight across. It's going to give us 18 square root 3 over the square root of 9. Keep going with the bottom. We know the square root of 9 is 3. Now slide across the 18 square root 3. And then look and see if there's anything we can simplify. So I have a 3 in the bottom and then the 18 in the top. Notice I'm ignoring the square root at this point. If I simplify and divide these two, that's going to give me a 6, and then slide the square root of 3 over. That is our answer. Okay, let's take a look at question number 3. Can't be simplified as it is. There's definitely a root in the bottom, so let's get rid of it. So we're going to multiply by the problem. And the problem is the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. Still multiplying by just 1, so that's okay. Multiply straight across. 7 times the square root of 2, and then root 2 times root 2 is root 4. Keep going with the bottom. Root 4 is 2. Now slide over the 7 in the square root of 2. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take a look at the 2 in the denominator that does not have a root around it, and then compare it to the other thing that does not have a root around it. 7 and 2 can't be simplified, so I actually think that's our simplified version. So I'm just going to rewrite it over here without the orange boxes around it. Is it okay? Sure, it's fine. It doesn't have a square root in the bottom of the fraction.